Manx Radio's Update with Beth Espey.
Well, Fastamai, good evening. How are you? The end of the week is nigh, so hang on in there. But before then, let's give you the latest news roundup for this Thursday. So coming up before 5:30, the families of two teenagers murdered more than 20 years ago renew their calls for their relative's killer to stay in prison. Also tonight, what assessment took place ahead of government's decision to scrap My Card payments? And the Villa is set to welcome teams who are quite literally punching at the weekend. We'll also check out the latest weather, the traffic and the travel as well. And as ever, if you'd like to get in touch, we'd love to hear from you. You can email us studio@manxradio.com or you can text the studio. It's 166 177. We'll start with the news headlines from Lewis. Fastamai.
The Treasury Minister says he's not happy with the current position of Manx Care and is urging it to keep control of its spending. Alex Awenson says the health body was created to improve quality and services while adhering to a budget, but admits health is currently the biggest cost to government.
Even small percentage overspend of that can be the entire budget of Home Affairs, the entire budget of DEFA.
Douglas Council has accepted an offer on the Lord Street flats. The former social housing block went up for sale in November last year following the completion of the new apartments on Peel Road. Manx Care's public criticism of Oncan MHK Julie Edge has been escalated to the island's top civil servant. The Chief Executive of the Isle of Man Government, alongside the Chair and Chief Executive of Manx Care, are reviewing the circumstances surrounding the press release, which accused Miss Edge of making sweeping, factually incorrect statements in Tynwald. And revised rules to simplify the planning process and reduce the cost of various home improvements will come into force from the 1st of March. In some cases, projects that currently need planning approval will no longer require it. In the latest international news now, the British Army's accepted it should have done so much more to protect a soldier who took her own life after filing a sexual assault complaint. An inquest concluded a failure to properly investigate and later harassment from her manager contributed to 19-year-old Jaisley Beck's death in Wiltshire in 2021. The US Vice President described illegal immigration as the greatest threat to Europe days after he warned freedom of speech is at risk here. J.D. Vance believes peace in Ukraine is on the cusp. And Amazon's gaining creative control of James Bond. A deal's seen the long-standing producers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson take a step back, but they'll remain co-owners. Those are the headlines. I'll be back with the news at 6.
Thank you very much indeed, Lewis. Now the weather brought to you by Manx Glass and Glazing. First of all, we have got that yellow weather warning for gales and severe gales. It comes into force at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning until 3 tomorrow afternoon. And this is for those winds which will be from a southerly direction. They'll develop tomorrow morning. We're expecting gusts of around 50 to 60 miles an hour. So there might be some fallen branches and trees that could cause some disruption to travel. The wind will then veer southwest and it will ease in the afternoon. So generally for the rest of today, it's been a bit of a mixed bag really, hasn't it? It's still pretty chilly out there, but it is going to be a dry and clear end to the day. Turning cloudy again tonight. There will be some rain arriving later. Fresh to strong southwest winds. They'll turn to the southeast and increase. As we know, they'll become gale force by the end of the night. Minimum temperatures will be about 7 degrees. The rain will continue throughout tomorrow morning. That will be heavy at times and it'll clear in the afternoon and then it'll be dry and those winds will ease during the afternoon. And the outlook, a fine day on Saturday, plenty of sunshine, so it's going to feel hopefully a little bit spring-like, and top temperatures of around 10, so a little bit better. Sunset this evening, it's definitely drawing out, 5:37, sunrise tomorrow morning, 7:26.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
Simply income protection from Kestrel Insurance. A choice of benefits. Simple underwriting and peace of mind with a regular income for up to 2 years if you're unable to work due to illness or injury. Kestrel Insurance is registered with the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Carpetland, the carpet specialist with the island's best value carpets in stock, often fitted within a week. Furnitureland for three-piece suites, dining and living room furniture and a selection of amazing beds. Carpetland and Furnitureland, West Street, Ramsey.
Making life easier with Manx Mobility at the top of Summer Hill. Are you looking for a stair lift? Look no further with Which Magazine's #1 recommended stair lifts. Now provided by Manx Mobility. Access BDD stair lifts. Call us today on 200 680. The exclusive Karcher store is open with thousands of products, accessories and parts in stock. For Karcher sales and service, Hersham Electrical, Shipyard Industrial Estate, Ramsey.
You're listening to Update here on Manx Radio FM. It's coming up to 5.5 minutes past 5. We're going to start tonight with a story we first mentioned on the programme yesterday. Now, this was that media release from Manx Care publicly accusing the Oncan MHK Julie Edge of making sweeping, factually incorrect statements in Tynwald. Well, that, as we just heard in the headlines, has now been escalated to the Isle of Man's top civil servant. So the Chief Executive of the Isle of Man government is understood to be reviewing the circumstances surrounding this. Let's just take a step back and bring you up to speed if you're not really aware of what's been going on here. What happened was Ms Edge told Tynwald this week there was a possible code red over the weekend due to staffing levels at Nobles Hospital. So Manx Care then issued a clarification explaining that that code red actually referred to a security issue where a patient was displaying aggressive behaviour and it had nothing to do with staffing levels. But the following day, Manx Care went further, releasing another statement accusing Ms Edge of causing unnecessary anxiety to the public. Well, Christian has since spoken to the Health Minister, Claire Christian, to ask her what's going on.
You're right to say that she raised possible concerns in her budget speech, and she asked for me as the Minister to look into these concerns in her speech, and which I obviously immediately actioned because they were concerning for me to hear also too. Yesterday, I received that report back in the afternoon regarding the concerns that she had raised. But with regards to the press release by Manx Care, that was not within my remit to authorise anything like that or for it to be confirmed, by myself as the DHSE Minister.
OK, so do you agree with Manx Care's position? Is it yours and the Department of Health and Social Care's view aligned to Manx Care too?
In the aspect of, the accuracy of and the clarification of the concerns raised, I have no reason to not trust the reports that they have given back, and I'm satisfied that the information that they provided was accurate. But with regard specifically to perhaps the initial comments regarding Ms Edge, the department does not agree that it was a suitable avenue for those comments.
Obviously, Manx Care is an arm's-length body, albeit operationally independent from the government. It does remain a function of government nonetheless, which means its employees are public servants. Public servants are expected to be impartial, but this appears to be political. I know you said that you haven't given ministerial approval before that press release or statement was issued. Do you think there needs to be conversations between the Department of Health and Social Care and Manx Care now that has gone out?
Thank you. I've raised the press release with the chair of the Manx Care Board and the CEO of the Isle of Man government, and all parties are looking into the circumstances currently. But if there are any questions about the post itself, I would ask that those are directly directed to Manx Care.
That is the Health Minister, Claire Christian, talking to our Christian a short time ago this afternoon. Coming up to 9 minutes past 5, just want to let you know that this evening's sailing to Heysham, the 7:15 sailing, has been cancelled. That's because of the weather. We've just been hearing about how strong those winds are going to be. So that sailing has been cancelled. Passengers will be informed. We know tomorrow afternoon's sailings, there are some changes there as well, but we'll come to those in the traffic and travel. Now, before we bring you the next story, I'll just warn you, it may contain information that you could find distressing. This is about the families of two teenagers who were murdered over 20 years ago on the Isle of Man, who are renewing calls to keep their relative's killer behind bars. 16-year-olds Samantha Barton and George Green were killed in 2002 by abattoir worker Peter Newbury. The then 23-year-old was jailed for life with a minimum term of 20 years. 2 years later, he was incarcerated at a high-security prison in the UK until 2020, when he was returned here to the Isle of Man. Now, it's understood he's going to undergo a parole hearing in March, something which has sparked an online petition calling for his potential release to be blocked. Shirley Cleave is George's sister.
The petition itself, it's being led by the Barton family. So obviously, we fully support the Barton family and we support the petition that has been done. He was transferred over to a UK Category A prison, and in our opinion, that's where he probably should have stayed. They've got the correct structures in place and intervention techniques that can only rehabilitate offenders like him, where he can't get that on the Isle of Man. So to know that he's been here living the life of Derby prison for quite a few years doesn't give us any comfort that he's not going to be released, and we do feel that he will reoffend. George being the only boy, we all loved that, always been missed. And, we still go back to the moment we were told at the police station that he'd been found, and it seems like yesterday. We want justice. We don't feel that he is being reformed by sitting in Derby. We've asked the questions before. How are they rehabilitating? How can they give us any kind of confidence that he's safe for release? For our safety as well. I mean, we knew Peter Newbury. We grew up with Peter Newbury. We went to the same school. We lived 900 yards away from him for a very, very long time. So we know him and his character. So we don't believe that the justice system locally could actually do anything to change him.
That is George Green's sister, Shirley Cleave there. Well, her sentiments are echoed by Linda Barton, the aunt of Samantha Barton, who's also calling for Newbury's sentence to be revisited.
The acts of the crime that Peter Newbury has committed is above and beyond inhumane. To the best of my knowledge, that the Isle of Man, by law, has a right to contact the family and keep them abreast so that any parole hearings, which is beyond comprehension. We found out on social media there can never be enough of reasons or excuses to not be able to contact our family. My sister, as soon as she heard Peter Newbury was coming back to the island, she left the island. So that would have been no problem from the government's point of view to contact the Metropolitan Police Force in the UK to come and visit and disclose that information. We were not informed. We found out on social media. As a family, we are just turned upside down, right back to 2002. Peter Newbury has never owned it, never admitted, has shown no remorse. Nobody ever expects that knock on the door. It doesn't only upend your whole life, but a day at a time for the rest of your life. And I'm speaking just here as her auntie. I look at my sister and I often think privately to myself, what's her life like? What's her internal world like? Over 20 years has gone by. The Isle of Man government could have done something, but they didn't. And so as a family, I'm here to say, until our last breath, if that's all we have, that's what we will use.
That is Linda Barton, the aunt of Samantha Barton. We have invited the Department of Home Affairs to comment and are waiting for a response. 13 minutes past 5. Now, no formal equality impact assessment took place ahead of government's decision to scrap MyCard payments, but it's hoped that the decision will be a positive one for those who are elderly, disabled or frail. Now, it was recently confirmed Treasury would stop offering benefits and pensions payments through MyCard before the end of this year. But what does it actually mean for those who are less able to use other options, such as online banking? Sian Cowper has the details.
Responding to a Tynwald written question from Ramsey MHK Laurie Hooper, Treasury Minister Alex Allinson said no equality impact assessment was completed, but the duty to promote equality was undertaken and documented. The minister believes the change will be positive, as he says it will mean those who are elderly, disabled or frail will no longer have to battle adverse weather conditions to go to a post post office branch to collect their payments. For those who need to open a bank account or sign up for online banking, Dr. Allinson says bank branches on the high street can help individuals, while trusted friends and family may also be able to help. Those who are genuinely unable to open a bank account will be able to access emergency cash payments at a post office. More than 45% of those who use My Card are aged 66 or over, with state pensions making up the highest number of customers. Since Treasury contacted the more than 3,000 My Card users in November to announce the service would be ending, over 800 have already switched to bank or online account payments. Treasury has also confirmed the move will result in a gross saving of £650,000 per year, although an increase in BACS transactions and costs relating to the exceptional payment service will reduce the overall cost saving to £500,000.
Sean Cowper reporting. Coming up to 5:15.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
So as far as we're aware, nothing to report on the roads other than the usual traffic lights and stuff like that that's all over the place. The main thing is to do with travel off island. First of all, just looking down at the airport, there's just a bit of a delay on the Dublin flight, but everything else looks okay. But as we just said earlier, the steam packet has cancelled tonight's 7:15 sailing to Heysham. That's because of the weather. There's some storm force winds or severe gale winds coming in. And there are also some changes to tomorrow's schedule as well. The steam packet has cancelled tomorrow afternoon sailing between Heysham and Douglas, again because of those weather conditions. And instead, it is going to go at 1 p.m. to Liverpool rather than Heysham. So all passengers will have been let know about that. If you want any more details on the general traffic situation, just go to manxradio.com and click on our traffic and travel hub.
Ask how you can spread the cost interest-free at Quayside.
It is 16 minutes past 5 now. Well, naturally, been talking about the budget a lot this week because it was in Tynwald on Tuesday. It was voted through, but we know that 8 members of the House of Keys did not approve of the budget this week. We are going to be talking to the Treasury Minister again with that live programme tomorrow from 5 p.m. at Lukey's Bar. All of our coverage brought to you by Crow Isle of Man. If you've got any questions that haven't been answered yet and you're not able to join us in person, then you can always send them in studio@manxradio.com or text 166 177. But something we did hear about connected to the budget was the additional £10 million has been released by Treasury to offset anticipated additional spending in the forthcoming year. And this money had been held in reserve since 2020 as a contingency ahead of the finalisation of the calculation mechanism for the island's contribution under the Customs and Excise Agreement. So that's between the island and the UK. The Treasury Minister, Dr. Alex Allinson, announced a settlement in Tynwald.
I'm able to confirm to you today that we have finalised the required first calculations and agreed them with His Majesty's Government. The island's estimated share of VAT and the other common duties has been calculated using the agreed methodology, and this has resulted in the island's share being broadly in line with the previously budgeted projections. Over the past 5 years, we have prudently held back a provisional amount, some of which will be paid as a rebalancing payment to HM Treasury. The remainder of this I am now able to release. This book adjustment will offset additional spending that has been incurred and approved by Tynwald in supplementary votes, and an additional £10 million will now be available to offset anticipated additional spending in the forthcoming year. I would like to thank His Majesty's Treasury and Revenue and Customs for their detailed and professional approach, together with officers both in Treasury and Cabinet Office who have worked in such an efficient manner to reach this conclusion. This agreement provides the Treasury with confidence and certainty in terms of the revenue the Isle of Man will receive under FERSA in each of the next 5 years until the next calculation is undertaken in 2028-29.
So that was the Treasury Minister, Dr. Alex Allinson, speaking in Tynwald this week. We also had the Treasury Minister on breakfast this morning. He was with us for around half an hour or so answering some of your questions. If you'd like to listen back to that, you can go to manxradio.com and just click on one of our latest newscasts. In fact, another one of the latest ones is the Tynwald in Brief. This is where, if you haven't been able to listen to the whole sitting, we just give you the highlights, if you will. And Phil Gorn and Christian have been chatting about those. You can find that on our website. website as well. It's coming up to 19 minutes past 5, and the new clerk at Ramsey Commissioners says he wants to bring the town on and contribute to its greater good. Derek Flint started the role back in January and hopes residents are seeing small improvements already.
Well, I was really privileged to secure the position of Town Clerk here at Ramsey. This is where we lived for 23 years and we brought the children up, so Ramsey is very much in my DNA, if you will. So the opportunity to come back and contribute to that greater good, if you will, in terms of bringing the town on and a lot of the exciting stuff that's in the pipeline with regard to harbour redevelopment and regeneration and so on, was pretty much irresistible, I would say.
What are your priorities now as Town Clerk for the board? Obviously, there's an election in a couple of months, so what are your priorities going to be?
Well, my priorities are their priorities, and it's really to make the town a better place, and that's the whole, if you like, mission statement of the Commission. So my job is to turn their policy into actions. I'm lucky because I've inherited a really good team. We've got some people that are just generally up for it, if you will, and you hopefully can already see little bits of improvement around the town. So we've got challenges ahead. A new board is always a big watershed for any commission, and help them find their feet and just generally look at how we update, modernise and improve. We do some pretty hefty lifting with budgets every year, and trying to eke every pound out of the rate is what we're all about. We don't want the rates to go up, and we try and keep costs to a minimum. There's things that wear out, and replacements of things like boilers in the town hall and improvement in plant and equipment which helps the team service the town are always going to eke away. But we're keen to as well to try and improve things where people can genuinely see that uplift around the town.
That is Clerk of Ramsey Commissioners Derek Flint talking to local democracy reporter Emma Draper there. No stranger to the Isle of Man, a former police inspector. He looked after their media for a time. And he mentioned the election that's happening on April the 24th. And one of the things you need to do to make sure that you are able to vote is make sure you're on that electoral register. We've been hearing adverts about that, and we'll be doing much more on that in the next couple of weeks. But it's just a simple thing. If you just go to the government's website and search for electoral register, you'll find out how you can update your details if you need to. 21 minutes past 5, the inaugural Manx Challenge Cup in boxing takes place in Douglas this weekend as Manx ABC takes on an East Midlands select team at the Villa Marina. Manx ABC coach Peter Roberts says there's a steady stream of new talent in the sport locally right now, and some of those competitors will gain vital experience against that UK opposition this weekend.
I think for the home boxer, it's boxing in front of the home crowd. It has its own challenges. Boxing away from home, you don't have many people watching you that you know personally, but when you come in, you've got your friends, family and friends, packing the place out. It's a little bit of a different prospect.
When you look at some of these fighters that are coming through, when they see the collection of current Manx Pro fighters, how much of an inspiration can that be?
It's brilliant. We have Jade Burden training regularly in the gym. We had Jamie Devine over a couple of months ago. They're in amongst the lads and ladies when they're boxing and training as well, and they look at them, they see where they are, they see them on TV or see them in the photo shoots and all that, and hopefully that's where they want to get to, and they see what the work they put into when they were an amateur. They're not far away from it.
From your perspective, how pleased have you been with the progress that Manx ABC's been making over the last few years?
It's brilliant, Rob. It's a conveyor belt, absolute conveyor belt at the minute. Like I said, from the Little Rockies right the way through to the new lads coming through, it's hard to keep up with them, to be honest. I've got 17 bouts on now. I've got 28 registered boxers, so there's a lot of people missing out on this show, which means I'm going to put more shows on this year, obviously, but it's hard to pick and choose them now. I'd like to do it, but we've got to do it. Those who haven't boxed on this show will be going away to compete over there. But again, we lose people. Like TJ's going away, the team captain now is going away to live. Obviously, Jade's turned professional, and Big Mike Losborne, he's just turned professional. So there's 3 we've lost, and we've got more than enough to fill in for their spaces.
For those who are starting out in this process, just how valuable is this sort of experience and skill set down the line?
Absolutely invaluable. Little things like getting weighed in. The weigh-in's going to be on the day. It's quite hectic. The day of the show here is really hectic for the boxers. And like I said, we've got some good, clever heads around us that can calm the lads down. It's quite intimidating. You've got people you don't know before, the big team coming from across. They've all got the same tracksuits on. It looks quite daunting, and you've just got to deal with that at this early stage. And when they step up to the level, then they'll find it quite easy going up.
That is Manx ABC coach Peter Roberts talking to Rob there. So doors open for Saturday's event at 6 p.m. The first bell is at 7. Tickets are still available, but ringside seats and areas are sold out. Do you ever fancy going into the ring, Rob?
No, I don't think I've got the skill set for that.
OK, we'll leave it there. Sport then.
Yes, indeed. Starting off with tennis, and Isle of Man star Billy Harris is through to the quarterfinals of his latest ATP Challenger Tour event out in India. The former Island player defeated Japanese qualifier Hiroki Maria in straight sets 7-5, 6-3 in the Pune Challenger round of 16 stage this morning. Harris, who's the number one seed in the men's singles tournament there, will now face sixth seed Brandon Holt of the USA tomorrow. That match will get underway no earlier than 12:30pm local time. Well, previously Harris had opened his campaign at the event with an opening phase victory in straight sets over wildcard entry Manas Dam of India 6-4, 6-4. And elsewhere this month, the 30-year-old reached the last four of the Chennai Open and was part of the Great Britain team that suffered defeat to Japan in the qualifier for the Davis Cup. Elsewhere, motorsports, Spanish rider Victor Lopez has announced he'll make his TT debut this year. Well, Lopez, who's been a regular at the Manx Grand Prix in recent years, has revealed his entry has been accepted for the Super Twin races at the 2025 Racing Fortnight. Well, back in August 2023, Lopez became the first Spanish rider in history to win at the Manx Grand Prix, taking victory in the junior MGP race and setting a new lap record in the class of 117.645 miles an hour in the process. Meanwhile, 2023 senior MGP winner and Manxman Joe Yeardsley is expected to make his Northwest 200 debut this year. The Laxeyman was one of 12 aspiring newcomers who'd attended a two-day induction at the Triangle Circuit, with fellow Island racer Jamie Kringle also part of that group. 28-year-old Yeardsley is currently expected to contest the Superbike, Superstock and Super Twin races at Portrush in early May. And finally, the countdown to racing on the Balown course in 2025 will officially begin with the latest Southern 100 launch event in the south of the island tomorrow night. Taking place at a new venue this year, the annual Southern 100 media launch will be held at Civic Centre on Ferrets Way in Castletown on Friday evening from 7pm. Organisers say the event will once again include interviews with riders and key sponsors, along with the clerk of the course, Giles Olley. This year marks an important milestone for racing at Balown, with 2025 marking the 70th anniversary of the Southern 100. Well, tomorrow's Southern 100 launch will be broadcast live on Manx Radio from 7pm tomorrow on our AM 1368 channel and via the AM player at manxradio.com and the Manx Radio app.
Thank you very much indeed, Rob. Well, that is all from Update this evening. Tomorrow we're going to be a little bit different. We're taking Update out on the road. We're going to be live from Lukey's Bar at the Palace Hotel from 5pm, and it's an extended programme, 5 until 6:30, and we will be joined by the Treasury Minister, Dr Alex Allinson. We've got a studio audience as well. Now, those tickets were limited and most of them have gone. We have got a waiting list though, so if you'd like to come along and be considered, if anybody else isn't able to come, then do find that link at manxradio.com. And on there we've also got a poll as well. Be interested to know what you think about the Manx budget this week. Are you happy with it? Are you not? Do you care? Go to manxradio.com and click on our poll, and we can have a look at those results with the Treasury Minister tomorrow. And as I say, you can also email your questions in, studio@manxradio.com. You can text 166 177. The whole aim of this is to try and give you the chance to ask any questions that you might have. And our thanks to the Treasury Minister for accommodating us with that. All our coverage brought to you by Crow, Isle of Man. Well, stay tuned to Manx Radio this evening. Coming up next, it's the Archive Room with Judith Lay. And among other things, how to hypnotise a chicken, steaming heads and a bit of farce. So stay tuned for that one. And then at 6pm, Chris Kinley will be here with Greatest Hits. At 9, it's Morris Powell with a little light music. And Rianne will be with you from 10pm with After Hours. Whatever you're doing this evening, have a good one.